Cool. Right, so I've tried to film this video a couple of times today in front of a window on my iPad for the first time, and the light is all over the place. So hopefully this isn't too horrific when I kind of edit it all together, and hopefully it makes some kind of sense later on as well. But yeah, so it's been a while since I've been here. I think 2015 was probably the last time I uploaded any kind of like speaking video like this. Life happened, I got really busy, work's been mental, and yeah, I actually filmed quite a lot, but it's just finding the time to sit and then edit it is just what I just found I couldn't sort of have the time for. But yeah, so I've got some stuff to sort of talk about, so I thought, well, why not do two birds one stone and kind of this be a hey, I'm back kind of, I don't know how long for, hopefully a while, as well as just getting some stuff off my chest and kind of explaining some stuff to you guys. Cool. So to start, a lot of people, and basically the reason of doing this video is that a lot of people have kind of been questioning me about where have I gone essentially on like Instagram and stuff like that. For those of you that don't know, I tattoo full time for a job, and the majority of my work comes through Instagram, so obviously I'm uploading on there like almost daily. I'll post on my stories and things like that, and I've just kind of stopped doing it. I think my last upload was maybe January, and was only maybe uploading like a couple of things a month before that. And to be frank about it, the reason is why, because I wasn't really working, because I couldn't. I've been really ill, and only a few people know about this, or people might have seen me out and about and thought, oh, she doesn't look unwell, or like she looks fine, like what she means she's been unwell. And even people close to me, only maybe a handful of people really know everything that's been going on with me, and even fewer of those people know really just how much it has actually affected me and my ability to work, and just a whole bunch of stuff really. So yeah, I'll start with like a little bit of background, and then I'll get into kind of what's been going on and basically why I've not been working and stuff. I want to say that to anybody that is waiting for an appointment to get tattooed or has contacted me like however many times, or whether it's one or like loads of times, it's not just you that's in this boat. There's a whole bunch of people in the same position. I've essentially not looked at my emails for the past however long, just while all of this has been going on, because it's just one more thing that I can really cope with. I didn't want to book people in to then have to reschedule them to being ill, so I chose to just really not book people in at all to avoid disappointing people. But then I do realise that by just not getting back to people, it's kind of just as bad, because it just comes across as I'm being like mean, or I'm ignoring people and things like that, which I'd never want to do. Like, I appreciate everybody that wants to get tattooed so badly. I love that you all want to get tattooed by me, and it's like the biggest compliment in the world you can ever have as an artist, and I do really appreciate that. And again, that's why I'm doing this video today, to just be able to supply you guys with an explanation, as I say, of what's been going on. So yeah, a bit of history, health-wise, I guess. On and off for maybe the past 9 or 10 years, I've suffered with cystitis, like recurrent cystitis. For anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's a bladder infection or like water infection. It's nothing really particularly like bad, I wouldn't say, or like crazy different or dangerous or anything. It's just a water infection. It's very common for me in particular. I just thought I was very prone to it, so like every month or couple of months I'd be going back and getting like antibiotics or something, and then I'd be fine again. Last year with work though, I ended up essentially just like burning out. Like I worked myself way too hard, didn't take any breaks, didn't really look after my health, and that led to me getting like the worst UTI, like water infection of my life. I was doubled over in pain. It was hurting in my kidneys, like it was really bad, really painful. My whole stomach, like I was just in like ridiculous amounts of pain. And that same week I also got a really bad bout of gastroenteritis, so that made the water infection worse, because every time I was trying to drink water and hydrate to help the water infection, I was then puking it all out everywhere, so I wasn't able to even keep water down. But I got through it, and then like a week or so afterwards, like when I'd got better, I was still in like loads of pain, and I felt like I had a water infection still, so I went back to the doctors, and they did the little like dip test thing, and they were like, nah, you don't have a water infection anymore, and it's probably just inflammation from what you went through last week, which is normal, don't worry about it, just take some painkillers and you'll be fine. So that's what I did, and then yeah, it cleared. I still just generally felt really unwell, like, and no matter what I did, no matter how much I felt like I slept or rested, I just felt constantly tired and just like this burnt out feeling. I think I've got cat hair in my nose or something, it's really itchy, sorry. But yeah, so yeah, I was back at work, and then lo and behold I got another water infection, really bad again. So I was back at the doctor's, they said the same thing, like gave me some antibiotics, like be on your merry way. And around this time I started developing like a different kind of tummy pain, like in my side, and yeah, it was really bad. So when my water infection didn't really clear after this sort of like 3-day course, which was normal to have of antibiotics, I went back, and they were saying that essentially because it's unusual to have the amount of water infections that I was having, maybe there's something else going on inside that is making them occur. And because of where my pain was in my side, it was suspected that I had a cyst on my ovary that could be pushing on my bladder and causing the inflammation and the irritation and making it feel like I had that kind of water infection pain. So I was booked for a ultrasound scan, went and had that done, didn't find anything, everything was clear, no cyst, no nothing, it all looked normal in there. They did some swabs and stuff, and everything came back clear. I've had blood tests, all clear. So they were kind of like, okay, we don't know what this is. We don't know why you're in all this pain. And I was in like pain, like doubled over in a ball crying at home pain. And we worked out that through November, because it was probably like start of November time now, that collectively through November I only worked a week, just like odd days here and there through the month, because I was that ill. I just couldn't get into work. Yeah, I ended up being told that it could potentially be something like endometriosis, which would explain other things that are going on with me health-wise, like I have really irregular periods. So say I might have one period 1 month, then nothing for like 3 months, and then I might have like 2 in a month. But I just thought I had weird plumbing, so I never suspected anything. And when I did have periods, they were like really painful. They'd make me puke sometimes, like it's just grim. But yeah, again, I just thought that's how I was, and I've just been kind of getting on that way for like forever and not questioning it. So yeah, I was booked to see, I got a referral to hospitals to see a urogynecologist who would kind of look at everything down there, what was going on, because in women obviously all your plumbing and everything's all real close together, so it's hard to tell what's causing what and all the pain in one area kind of thing. So yeah, I was sent to a specialist. My referral didn't come through for forever, and at this point I'd been going back to the doctors every week, literally every week, saying that I felt like I had a UTI. They'd do a dip test and then they'd give me antibiotics, and I was getting really frustrated and like really emotional, and like it was just horrible. So I decided to go private to try and speed things up a bit, because I think I was really stressed as well, which kind of helped things with trying to get the studio going, because this was like the first month of having the property, and it was just kind of like a crazy madness, the start of things. So yeah, got my private referral through, got my private appointment through because I was waiting on my referral still. Guy was really cool. He sort of like poked and prodded me, asked me those questions, and he basically said the same thing. He said it could be endometriosis, or it could be a bladder thing, or in his words, which wasn't really what I wanted to hear, was you could just be one of those women that suffers with mystery pelvic pain. Like, I didn't really know what to say about that. Like, you'd think that, like, I know that I'm not slating doctors at all. They've got like an incredibly hard job, and they can't just look at someone and tell you what's wrong with them. But you'd think they knew more about like that area of a woman, like considering it brings life into the world, you know? Like, they do some more research if it's common for a lot of women to have this mystery pain. Like, that's my opinion anyway. But yeah, anyway. So he said that there was 2 things that could be done. I could have a laparoscopy, which is where they put a camera through your belly button. Obviously you're not out for this, it's like surgery, and they just kind of like have a look around in your abdomen, and they'll see the endometriosis tissue or scarring from the tissue, and then in which case you could be diagnosed with it. For those that don't know, endometriosis is an illness where that month in between your periods, when your womb lining is thickening, the extra tissue that grows not only grows in the womb, but it grows on the outside of the womb, and it can actually grow on other organs in like nearby. That is my general kind of like understanding of it. And when you have your period, that extra tissue sheds as well, and it has nowhere to go, and that's what makes it so like horrifically painful. And at the minute there's no cure for it, so that like really freaked me out, to be honest, because it's not what I wanted to hear when I'm embarking on opening my own studio. So yeah, like mentally and like emotionally I was in like a pretty fragile place, I think, at this time. I was so stressed. The other thing about it is that sometimes it's common to need quite a few laparoscopies to actually catch the tissue there and actually diagnose it. And every time you have the surgery, there's a 2-week healing period, and for me at the time it just wasn't viable to commit to those 2 weeks of doing nothing when I had so much to do. So we kind of put that on the back burner and so that it would be a last resort. The other thing that he said we could do is basically put a camera into my bladder, and we could do this at the same time as the laparoscopy to see if there's anything going on in my bladder, because again with like the endometriosis tissue, that can grow on and in other organs, and with the bladder being so close they thought potentially maybe that was what was going on. Endo tissue doesn't show up in ultrasounds and stuff like that from my understanding, which is why they didn't see it during my during my ultrasound to look at my ovaries before. But yeah, so I was then just kind of told to just wait for my other referral to come through, because it would be the same guy that I'd already seen, and he said, but if anything gets like really, really bad, I can come back and see him again. But just kind of talking to him and it kind of narrowing down some answers kind of helped, even though I kind of left empty-handed and I was essentially just told to keep taking painkillers and rest, which is again really hard to do when you're self-employed, because if you don't work you don't get paid. So I was spending all this money on like prescriptions, doctor's appointments, like whatever, the studio, and not making any money. So yeah, that was like a really tough time as well, just before Christmas. It was just horrible. But yeah, then I ended up going back to the doctors because I was in so much pain still, and I was put on antibiotics for a month, and they said that maybe there's something else going on with my body, and that because of my body fighting whatever else is going on, that's making this infection linger. And so I was given a month's worth of antibiotics, the same ones that I'd been on before, and I really hoped that that would work. Didn't really notice much difference, to be honest. I think it maybe like kind of got better around like maybe Christmas time, but it's really weird because when you're in that much pain constantly, you kind of reach a point where you don't know if you're even getting better anymore, because you don't, like, you question if it's actually got better, if you're just used to the pain. And so people were asking me, like, oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, how is it now? Is it better or worse than last week? And I'm like, I don't know. It just hurts, and I'm just sick of it, and I want to go back to work, and I just want my life to be normal again. And yeah, it's just horrible. And yeah, and hopefully people can see why now. On top of all this, I wasn't even thinking about bookings. Well, I was thinking about bookings, but not thinking about taking bookings, because it was just so much going on. And as I say, I didn't want to book people in and then be off work the next week and then have to cancel them, then reschedule them and cancel again. And yeah, it just, at the time, it just made sense for me to not book anyone in, just because I didn't want to disappoint people. But then because I was so like down and like just in such a horrible place over everything else that was going on, I just didn't have the energy to even really sort of explain any of this to anybody. I just kind of stepped away, which isn't the right thing to do, but at the time it's kind of what I needed to do. But yeah, so went back to the doctors. They, again, always, and then it was actually a different doctor this time, and she looked through my notes of like where I'd had all my like little dip tests and stuff done over the course of like, the past month or whatever. And she turned around and said, "Oh, you've never actually had a water infection all this time?" And I was like, "What? Like, I've spent so much money on prescriptions for antibiotics, and I've been in so much pain, that would make sense as to why the antibiotics never worked, because it was never an infection. They'd maybe make me feel better for like a couple of days, but then I'd been like doubled over in pain again, and that, it was just a massive blow, and also like really frustrating, because then I'm like, well, if it's not the water infection issue, then it is probably one of these other things." I've got a phone call. My mum's in Italy, so I need to answer this. I'm back. I've got a line on my face where I've been on the phone. Oh dear. But yeah, so yeah, I was told that it had never been a water infection. So I was just like, well, okay, well, where do we go from now? It's probably going to be more tests and this, that and the other. So probably then between like New Year and now, so what's that, like 4 months, I've been going back and forth to the doctors again. Not as much, because I was given some different tablets to try in January. We're trying to put off doing the laparoscopy, essentially. We're trying to kind of have it as like a last resort, because the kind of potential of finding something there and the slim chance that they'll actually find anything, compared to how long it will kind of inconvenience me by, I guess, with the healing and getting the studio open and stuff like that, it's just not practical for me to do that right now, and I kind of want to exhaust other options until that. So at the minute I'm trying out 2 different pills. One is the pill, because if it is endometriosis, the only treatment, like, well, there is no cure for it, so it's just a case of treating and managing it, and the only way of doing that essentially is to have hormones, so like the pill, injection, whatever, and that will essentially stop your periods, which then stops this extra tissue forming and then essentially stops the pain. And yeah, I was told basically if they put me on the pill with no breaks, so just constantly forever, I guess now, and if that helps, then it's likely that it was endometriosis, and it's then up to me if I still want to go forward with a laparoscopy or not, or if I'm just happy without being pain. So far it's kind of helped, but kind of not. Like, I've got boobs now, that's nice, but but apart from that, yeah, it's not made like a massive difference. What I have noticed through this whole thing is that my pain seems to change. It will start as one thing, then it will turn into something else, then it will start to something else. Like, the worst part was I had this burning, literally like a burning feeling, like hip to hip across my whole lower abdomen, and that was like when I was like crying a lot and just at home in pain. And then it's been like things like just even sitting and finding like a comfortable position to sit in where my stomach doesn't hurt and things like that has been really uncomfortable. And obviously when you tattoo for a job, you're sat down all day and you're not moving, and there's been some days where I've had to stay at home and I've just had to lie down in like a weird position because it's the only place that I felt comfortable, and obviously I can't do that at work. So again, that's been another reason as to why I've not been at work, because the kind of environment isn't right for the pain that I'm in. Like, I can sit here and talk to you and stuff and kind of ignore what my body feels like, but I can't do that day in, day out and work and draw and work with customers and do things, because it's just exhausting and it wouldn't help me in any way. Honestly, I just want to kind of concentrate on getting better, and then I can be like my full health back at work kind of thing. I've also been put on a tablet, like another tablet, which is like for my bladder. That I've not really noticed any kind of benefit from, but I have a referral, like I've had a few hospital referrals between like January and now, and I'm going to see a urologist, and then they've said that if the test, like for further tests and stuff, and then they've said that if the tests that they do again show like negative results or like don't show anything, then I'll be referred back to the urogynecologist, and then that will probably be when I then have the like the operations and stuff to just have a little look in there really and see if they can find it. But yeah, so for now, in terms of work and stuff, yeah, as I say, I just wanted to kind of keep you guys in the loop. Like, I'm not just being like ignorant or rude or like trying to tell you that I don't want to tattoo you without actually telling you or anything like that like people have said. it's just that I've been having like a really shitty time and I've just not really been well enough to work, but then I've not felt kind of comfortable in a place to share this openly either, so hopefully this kind of puts everyone's minds at rest. Some good news is literally yesterday I got the studio approved license, so like as of yesterday I can actually tattoo in there now, which is awesome. I'm an official studio. But yeah, so that's really cool, that's really nice silver lining. And yeah, I'm just going to be really kind of careful in terms of bookings and overworking myself and taking on too much, because with me currently being the only artist that's going to be working there, if I'm not working, we're not open, which obviously isn't good for a new business. So my kind of priority and my responsibility at the minute is the studio, and in turn my health. So yeah, I'm going to try and like book people in so I'm not overworking myself and taking on too much, so please be respectful of that if I do have to sort of take any time or postpone you, or if my bookings are quite spread out or anything like that. It's not just me being lazy or not wanting to work or anything, it is a valid reason. So yeah, just if you can be respectful of that, that would be really nice. But all my customers are lovely anyway, so I'm sure if you're watching this, like, you're good eggs anyway, so I don't need to worry about any of that. One thing I would really like to say, almost like a bit of a disclaimer, is I really don't want this video to come across as like a woe is me kind of feel sorry for me, I want sympathy kind of video, because it's not that at all. If anything, that's what I've avoided for the past 6 months. There's been days where like I've seen friends or family, or I've had a day out, or I posted a selfie, or I've done a photo shoot or whatever like that. That doesn't mean that I'm not in pain, doesn't mean that I didn't bawl my eyes out in the shower that morning because I'm so sick of being in limbo with like this mystery thing that is just controlling my body at the minute. Like, my way of dealing with it has been to basically ignore it, because if nobody can tell me what it is, there's no point in me trying to kind of stress over it. So for the most part I just try and ignore it, and yeah, if I'm not telling you that I'm in pain, I'm in pain. If I do tell you in pain, I'm in a lot of pain. I just don't want to be a whinger. Like, I don't want to spend all the time that I have with like friends or family or anything like that talking about how crappy I feel and just being a downer and stuff, so I've just chosen not to say anything at all. But yeah, it's very much happening at a much bigger extent to what people are probably aware of, but I can't really do anything about it for now. I've just got to kind of do my best to stay on like a level where I can kind of function and listen to my body and not overwork things, and I'm just going to keep having my doctor's appointments whenever they end up being. I've got a hospital referral later this month, so hopefully I'll get some answers then. Another reason that I'm sharing this as well is I've made, like, if you're on my Facebook, if you're someone I actually know, I did make a status like a few months ago, like back before Christmas, when it was first all kind of coming to a head and this was all kind of kicking off, asking if anybody had been through anything similar, or if I knew any like endometriosis sufferers that have also had experience with like bladder pain or anything like that. And so another reason why I'm sharing this is to kind of reach out and ask if anybody else can kind of shed some light on what the hell might be going on with me. If anybody's gone through anything similar, I'd really love to hear from you. If you feel comfortable sharing your experience, if you could just pop it in the comments. So again, other people that might be watching this video, because they're here to hear about the topics I've discussed and like my experience, maybe they can be helped by your comment as well. But yeah, I feel like the kind of process of elimination that I'm in, of just try this tablet, if it doesn't work, we'll just try something else. Like, I just want to know what's wrong with me, and I know that like medicine isn't a quick fix, and I know, as I said earlier, like, it's nothing against like doctors or anybody, they're just doing their job. I know it's not, you can't, as I said earlier, you can't just look at somebody and be like, you have this, but you feel a bit lost when you're just trying to get on with your life, and for 6 months, like, that's half a year. Like, I've essentially lost the past like half of last year to feeling like shit every day, and nobody's telling me why, and that gets old pretty quick. So if anybody can sort of shed any light on this, or anyone's had a similar experience, I'd really like to hear from you. Or if anybody had like a weird test done and that showed up something, or anything like that, like if there's anything that I need to be pushing for or mentioning to a doctor or anything like that, perhaps, like, yeah, I'd really appreciate anything like that. If you don't feel comfortable sharing openly, obviously, like, feel free to just like message me or email me, like my details are all in the description. But yeah, I'd really like to hear that. if anybody can save me. But yeah, as I say, don't feel sorry for me. I don't need sympathy. Yeah, well, all I need is just like your support, really, I guess. Like, keep liking my work, share it if you like it, book in, just come and see the new studio, like when we're like open. Anything like that helps. If I get answers and stuff, maybe I'll like probably share more, like an updated story on this or something. Yeah, if people are interested in that, I don't know. But yeah, as I say, my main kind of priority with this video was just essentially keeping people in the loop, and it's easier for me to just like link you to a video rather than like send you to like a massive blog post that it doesn't really make a lot of sense, or me trying to explain it individually to everyone every single time I'm trying to explain what's going on. It's just easier if I can just kick you through to here and be like, I'm not being mean. I've just been really poorly. Here's the story, kind of thing. But yeah, thank you for all your support though, because I am getting lots of like comments and nice stuff on my work as always. I am trying to like this month in particular, April, I kind of like reached the point of like, clearly for me, I guess, doesn't feel like it's gonna be like a quick fix anytime soon. So I'm trying to just make the most of whatever I can at the minute. Any good days I have had. I've had my first couple shoots of 2019, which has been really cool. Obviously, yeah, the studio's licensed now, so I can get in there in like the next week or two and start doing stuff, which is awesome. But yeah, so I'm gonna take it steady, but I'm gonna try and still be productive and like get my life back a bit. And yeah, I think, as I said earlier, like it's gone on so long that I'm just kind of used to the pain now. I can kind of see the signals, like when it's getting bad, and when I need to slow down, or when I need to take some painkillers, or I need to rest, or whatever. But yeah, I'll be alright. Thank you for watching. I really hope this made sense and wasn't too like waffly and rambly. And yeah, I just hope it's kind of like put people's like worries at rest and stuff. Everybody that has contacted me to get tattooed will be getting tattooed. Don't worry. Yeah, you're all amazing. So thank you. And I'll see you all in my new studio soon.